Here's the starting lineup for race 3 for the NZ V8Ute Challenge. Chris Pither and Kane Lobb line up off the front row. Dave Stewart and Chris Hanley and all Holden second row. Then we go back to Simon Byrne and Mike Lightfoot in a pair of Fords. Row 4, Peter Robb and Jeff Spencer in another pair of Holdens. Row 5 for Peter Ward and Scott McKelvey in the ICOM Commodore. Then we go back to an all Kernahan row 6. David Kernahan out of 11, Jeff Kernahan from 12, James Huggy Urquhart from 13, and Michael Morton and Graham Byrne will not start the final race. Well, it's a very, very wet start for the third and final race for the NZ V8Ute Challenge. Now, Dave Stewart peeling off into the pit lane before the race start. He was scheduled to start out of position number 3. And behind him, James Urquhart in the number 45 Holden as well. So there's a few gaps on the grid. There's definitely 2 cars missing with no Mike Morton and Graham Byrne after that big clash in race number 2. So Chris Pither up against Kane Lobb, 1 versus 2. Ford versus Holden, lights are out. We are going racing. Kane Lobb with an absolute flyer off the outside of the front row, Clint.
And Chris Pither's weekend was good after race 1 and qualifying, but it all turned to custard in race 2 with rear differential problems. They've had to change the diff in between the last 2 races, and of course now look at that. He's starting to get that speed back into the Gallagher Ford Falcon, but that was a shocker.
Absolute shocking start for Chris Pither. We were on board there with Mike Lightfoot and the BSL Racing Ford.
Now remember, these guys are racing on dot tyres, so they're they're not wet tyres and they're not slick tyres. They're a combination of both. And one of the drivers said, well, in the wet, it's a bit like driving on roller skates.
Well, I don't know about roller skates, Clint. Flippers might be more appropriate in this weather. It's lucky they've got the tonneau covers over the back of the rear decks, because these things will be filling with water right about now.
Looks like Chris Pither's actually recovered the ground that he lost from the start there. Kane Lobb, he's on target to win the round. He's leading the round at the moment. Well, actually, Chris Pither was leading the round, and it's Kane Lobb that's leading the championship overall. 781 to Simon Byrne with 723 points, and Chris Pither closing the gap in third to 675.
Yeah, well, this grid is lined up on the results, combined results of races 1 and 2. The grid for race 1 based on qualifying, then a marble draw. Heat 2 is lined up with a reversal of that marble draw. Points awarded for qualifying as well. So Pither starting off the pole in this one, obviously the top point scorer for the round, but Kane Lobb really maintaining that advantage in the Mark Cromie Holden VE Ute.
And if they finish the way they're racing at the moment, Chris Pither's still going to win the round, but the Mark Cromie Holden here of Kane Lobb is still going to be in the lead in the championship as we race towards Timaru. But just finishing here at Teretonga is going to be horrendous, Jamie. But they're doing a good, smooth job at the moment, aren't they?
Oh, classic Clint. That's going to undo everything. Don't say they're doing a good job. As soon as we say that, something happens out on the racetrack. We've had it all weekend, but for the off race 2, we saw that big clash between Mike Morton and Graham Byrne, and a fairly significant fine handed over to Graham Byrne for an unsafe entry back onto the race circuit.
Yes, he's been fined $1,000. He's got 4 demerit points. He's basically been excluded from the meeting from race 11 anyway, and has had his licence endorsed until June 30, and he's gone home. Shaken and very stirred after the big crash too, and of course T-Bone, his car's basically totaled, and I think Moose and the boys will do a great job to actually have it ready to race at Timaru for the Juiced Up 200 in a week's time.
Yeah, T-Bone was appropriate because he did T-Bone Graham Byrne. It wasn't Mike Morton. Mike Morton was in the middle of turn 1 as Chris Pither pulls to the outside of Kane Lobb, and as easy as that, the reigning number 1 goes by the reigning number 2 for the third and final race here at Teretonga.
So he may have had issues with the rear diff, but I tell you what, he's certainly got it back onto the track now as Dirty Dave slides off.
He gets dirty in the wet. Oh, slides off, and he slid straight down, I think, the inside of Jeff.
Father and son combo.
That could be an interesting conversation at dinner tonight. He's ploughed his way through the gravel trap, though.
Well, he had a bit of a wild excursion in race 2. He's done the same in race 3, but at least hopefully he's got it back out onto the track.
So Chris Pither looking for his second win of the weekend. Kane Lobb just looking to maintain that championship lead at the start of the weekend. Chris Pither was 141 points out of the championship lead. And where does that stand now going into race number 3?
He's closed the gap to around about just under 100 points, around about the 100-point mark.
Kane Lobb would have extended over Simon Byrne. I think that lead back to Byrne was out to 58 points, I think we worked out.
Yeah, he's right about 50-odd points in front. He was about 43 at the start of the weekend, so They're still having a bit of a battle as we go on board with Mike Lightfoot, who was buzzing after race 1, disappointed in race 2 to get that citizen moment.
Well, he's got the citizen moment. Yeah, he's just had a moment there off the exit of turn 7. We're going to take a ride with Mike Lightfoot in the VSL Racing Ford. That is such a great shot off the left rear corner of the Ford Falcon. Not that you can see an awful lot, but it just shows you how murky it is here in Invercargill for the third and final race of the weekend. Down into the southern loop now. We'll just be quiet here for a second and just roll around the loop with Mike. Clint, the corner that never ends, he was using about 2 throttle.
Yeah, just easing it, nursing it. Let's see what he does here as we go through the infield.
Turn 2. Sets the run up through the S's. They're just tiptoeing around this motor racing circuit at the moment. I wonder if any of the boys have thought to throw in a couple of bags of cement in the back of the Utes to try and get some traction down.
Well, they're fairly heavy, aren't they?
So we're taking a ride here with Mike Lightfoot around Teretonga Park Raceway, 2.262 kilometres. Current lap record held by Simon Byrne at a 109.46, and they're 10 seconds off that. I don't think we're going to see any lap records here this afternoon.
Nice work easing it through and around these corners here at Teretonga. Car 96.
There's Mike Lightfoot. So this is Chris Pither with the race lead. He's extended out over Kane Lobb to 2.4 seconds. Just going back to that last picture with Lightfoot, that was a much better exit off turn 7 than the start of the lap.
Yeah. And you've got to say that these guys are doing a good job because they know they haven't got those wet tyres, and they've got the dot tyres, so they've got grooves in them, and they're going to be flicking the rain away, but the track is very wet. Plenty of puddles out there around Teretonga.
Chris Pither looking for his 3rd win in the championship. That would put him equal on race wins with Kane Lobb, but Kane Lobb a pretty commanding lead. Chris Hanley in 3rd, the young series rookie.
He's doing a good job too, first time around the circuit, so he's gaining some excellent knowledge.
Hammer Time, the new sunglasses nickname this week, Hingers. He didn't have a nickname for the first 2 rounds.
Car number 2, Kane Lobb, the Ginger Ninja. He's doing the smart thing, isn't he? He's just collecting points, always positioning his car, the Mark Cromie Holden Ute, into the right position on the podium, and he'll be very happy to head north as still the man to beat. Junior, though, in the McDonald's Ford. Look at that. He's hunting down Handley in the Holden. This could be a good scrap as they head towards the sweeper in the wet.
The gap was a second at the start of the last lap. It is now down to just 4 tenths, and Junior is right there with Hammer Time. The McDonald's Ford up against the Ideal Standard mainline construction Holden.